What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 368. Fun show tonight. We get to bring back our friend Dominic Grossman back to the show to chat about, God, a huge summer. He's been up to some stuff. Dominic ran both the Hardrock 100 and the Cascade Crest 100 this last weekend. We have a lot to sort of catch up on, but I want to find out, one, why the hell did he run those two races in the same year? They're both extremely difficult races, of course. How he did it, how he trained for it, how he managed to balance work, family, training, and racing, and traveling. We're going to talk about all of it in tonight's episode. Sit back, relax, everyone. Ginger Runner Live, episode 368 begins now.
Ginger Runner.
Yay! What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 368. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Mondays, Tuesdays.
Try that again.
Spend a little bit of it with us. I realize today we are doing our show on a Tuesday, and the reasoning is because this last weekend was Cascade Crest 100, one of our favorite races to both attend, crew, pace, volunteer at. It's one of our favorites. I ran it in 2015. Kim attempted it in 2017. It has just been our, it's the 100-mile race that we look forward to every summer to go back, hang out, see friends, family. It's just this amazing community. So that occurred this last weekend, and we were there crewing, volunteering, filming, and enjoying the amazing race of our guest tonight and some of our friends. We have a lot to talk about that race, but we
and hence us being here on a Tuesday. I was typing Happy Tuesday in the chat, and I was like, I'm gonna hang on to this for a second.
Wait
I'm gonna
to see if I
you
catch it.
nail what day it is today.
I did not. I did not. As far as my mind is concerned, it's still Friday, 6 weeks ago. Time just hasn't moved.
I did shout at you last night that the gas station was closed because it was Sunday.
It's true.
So
it wasn't. It was Monday. Okay, so our guest tonight on episode 368, we're very excited to welcome him back to the show. It's going to be Dominic Grossman. Dom had an amazing summer. He ran Hardrock 100 just a couple of weeks ago. This last weekend ran Cascade Crest 100. It was his first time at this race. So we're going to dig in a little bit and find out how he trained, how he traveled. He has a family, full-time job. Like, how did he balance it all while attempting to tackle two of the biggest 100-milers on U.S. soil? And it should be a really, really fun episode. So we'll introduce Dom here in just a second, but it's not just him. It's not just me. It's also Kim. Hi.
hello.
How are you?
Doing well. Hi, everyone. Kim Tashima Newberry here, as always. If you're new, pop into the chat room and say hi. If you have questions for our wonderful guests, you can ask them in the chat room as well.
I also want to just start the show off, as we do every week, by shouting out our GR crew. It is because of them that we're able to do these live shows every single week, do our reviews, our films, everything. This film this last weekend that that I was just mentioning there followed one of our crew members, Angela Kuzier. We will have her on a future episode of Ginger Runner Live, probably around the same time that we dropped the movie that we filmed. It was an amazing adventure this last weekend, but our GR crew is just that much more amazing. Can't say enough nice things and positive things about this incredible community. If you would like to join the GR crew, it's very easy to do. Just head on over to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. All sorts of tiers, all sorts of cool perks and stuff like that. Two individuals in particular at that top tier we like to shout out at the beginning of every Ginger Runner Live episode. Rick Bjarnason, he is a British Columbia trail runner, ultra runner. He also runs a company called cheekymonkeymedia.ca. They are a web design, web maintenance company. They did the gingerrunner.com website. You can go check out their work there. But Rick's awesome, super cool ultra runner, adventurer. Happy to have him on board. And Brian Sands as well. We talk about Brian Sands often on the show. He's truly an inspiration and a friend and a kind, generous, giving member of the community. So we'd love to shout him out at the top of every episode because he really does so much. So Brian, thank you very much. And Rick, thank you very much. Okay, without further ado, I would like to welcome back to the show a dear friend of ours, currently in Southern California. We have lots to catch up on, lots to talk about in regards to just this weekend on Hardrock. Dominic Grossman.
Yay!
Hello, Dom.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, man. I was thinking about this moment for a while, just being back in my comfy bed, in my cozy bedroom, just enjoying the spoils of another finish and a new buckle to the collection. So
Man, like we've known you for a number of years. I know you as sort of the Angeles Crest 100 trail shredder. Like you and Jorge Pacheco are two of my favorite like Southern California trail runners, people to follow, just legends. And I've had the fortune of being able to run with you from time to time in Southern California. You really sort of cut my teeth on the California trails. This summer, you obviously expanded your horizons. It's not the first time you've raced out of state. Of course, you've run Hardrock before, and you've run other races, 100-milers and stuff like that beyond. I'm super curious. This summer, you sort of took a huge bite out of two of the toughest, from Hardrock to Cascade. Where did that start? Like, where did the idea pop into your head? Like, I want to run two of the toughest.
oh man, yeah, I basically had a really hard 2020, and not like it was the worst by any means, but it was just a lot of like more like growing up stuff that maybe I didn't really. I don't know if it was the easiest. So I lead a
Mm.
team of 3 engineers at my job, working in aerospace, and it took a lot of work to be remote, taking care of my 2-year-old daughter, my wife who's pregnant, and just like getting through a pandemic. I mean, being in a small town, I think we're a little bit more vulnerable about what happens if we get sick. What happens. We have a lot of neighbors that are elderly, that are really good friends. What happens if we get them sick? We just took it really, really seriously and really carefully. And so it was a year that I ran, I think, the least amount of mileage I've done in like my professional career. So I was just really hungry to get back to running. And I was lucky enough that Hard Rock decided to do a redraw for the Else lottery. And I got into that at Christmas and that, or right before Christmas. And then I was on the list for Cascade Crest for 2020, and then it got rolled. And Katie was like, "Are you sure you want to do both in 2021?" Because she's pragmatic, and I was just thinking like this was like the light at the end of my tunnel. Just even just if I only did one of the two, if I only just did Hard Rock or whatever, that's just going to be such like a amazing thing to look forward to after just such a long like prolonged winter of not being around the community, not being able to do everything I wanted to do, and just having a lot more responsibility on my plate. But a funny thing happened as I was in the doldrums of winter. I redid my bathroom, and I'd never done tile work before. I knew that I didn't have a very straight house, so Wrightwood's on the San Andreas Fault, so there's a lot of issues with our structure of our house. So if anyone's ever laid tile, you need a flat plane to lay tile, and if you don't have a perfectly flat plane, then you start to get these imperfections. And I was like doing this in the middle of the night with a wet saw and freezing temperatures, and just like really miserable. But I realized this term that they have in design called wabi sabi, and it basically means perfection through imperfection. So I was lucky that my tile that I picked was naturally imperfect. It had all these little imperfections in it, and as I went along, and there were gaps and there were things off at angles, I realized it wasn't the beauty of that it wasn't perfect. It was the beauty of knowing how hard it was to get each tile set, and to make the best of all the imperfections in my walls and everything. And um, not saying that it looks awful, but it looks good to me because of the hard work that I put into it.
Hmm.
And I think that taught me a little bit of a lesson as I went into the throes of having our second kid, Goldie, who was born in March, and then Katie having abdomen surgery to remove a desmoid tumor in April. So I kind of went from taking care of one toddler to taking care of a newborn and a wife that couldn't lift herself out of bed or sit up. So it was like a lot of really hard, painful, like, because I was still working full time as well, and trying to balance all my work responsibilities, um, and realizing that the wabi sabi of it, right, is that it's my family is beautiful, and my running and everything is beautiful because of the imperfections, and just seeing the fingerprints I left on my newborn kid, and that my wife's recovery has been, Katie's been, mostly good. She's like getting like 80% back, 70% back to her running capability. Knock on wood, but that's beautiful to me. And so when I went to Hardrock, I was only running about 34 miles a week. And to answer your question, why would I do Hardrock and Cascade Crest? 'Cause since they're such tough races. They really are. And I think the answer is I started to change my outlook on running as trying to show up at a race perfectly fit, perfectly, set to execute and win and run near the front. Rather, I saw it as, you know completing the race and competing in the race, at my own best with everything else in my life. That if I got to that finish line with my family and with my all my responsibilities still intact, um, the buckle and the experience and the pictures, they're all just so much more beautiful because I feel all the blood, sweat, and tears in each detail of that picture, and
Right.
that was my motivation.
It's
I love that.
me too, man. And
Yeah.
I love that you brought up Wabi Sabi because I don't think I've ever really made the connection. We talk. I've mentioned it not on the show, but amongst my family and stuff. The idea of Wabi Sabi and designing around imperfections, but it's perfection within the imperfection, and relating that to ultra running. We're all imperfect, and all of our training is imperfect. Every time we train for anything, I mean, it's not like if anyone shows up to a race with like a perfect training regimen, then it's almost like the race doesn't go according to plan because the expectations are so high that I would much rather show up. I think we talk about this. Like, I'd rather show up undertrained and healthy and get the race done than show up like perfectly trained, everything aligned, and then have a race go to shit and go like, well, what went wrong? I appreciate you bringing that up because I think it makes a lot of sense, and it makes a lot of sense of why you found success. And I want to emphasize success because you did manage. One, finishing both races is of course an accomplishment, but you did really, really well at both. I do want to mention also that we had your wife Katie. You mentioned Katie there. We had her on the show, episode 349. So it was about just under 20 episodes ago, 19 episodes. And it was a wonderful conversation. So this is sort of seeing the other side of that relationship because, you guys needed to be able to support one another. You live in a mountain town, so you don't have a hospital easily accessible, and you needed to have a lot of access to that at the time. That started to occur probably in your training cycle, I'm assuming. Did that influence a lot of training? Were you able to relinquish control over your training during that time? Because family, obviously, more important. How did your mind try to find that balance?
Yeah, it was difficult because so we had Goldie. Um, we had like about like 5 or 6 days, and then grandparents came out. Grandparents were awesome for about week and a half, 2 weeks. That was really, really big help. And then they went back, and the day after they went back, Katie went into surgery. So I had like
Mm.
the luxury for like, period of weeks of really appreciating that I could sleep a little bit more, and I could get a little bit of training in here and there. And we had, some fresh snow to ski and stuff. And then the reality set back in of like, all right, Katie's had a major surgery. I'm kind of like one and a half parents, right now, and that's all all I can focus on. And so like through April and May, I sacrificed a lot. And then I think it was like middle or late May, we ended up hiking up Baden Powell, and I was just super determined. Like, you know what? Like, I want Katie to get out, like, get past the depression of having her abdomen cut open and seeing, like her potential to run technical trails, really slashed. That's a bad pun, but I wanted to get her out and get her experiencing it. So we ended up just hiking all the way up Baden Powell, which is like a 7 mile round trip. Um, 2,500 feet of gain, and I had both kids strapped to me. And having both kids strapped to me, I realized, okay, this isn't running, but it's a really freaking hard workout. Because anyone that's ever had 45 pounds on your back, like it's a it's it's significant. And then especially altitude going uphill. on a steep trail. And then on top of that, Lindy is a like gymnast, and I am the pommel horse. And so she just like flails herself around the back of the pack and just does and grabs at things. And so there's also a core workout in there beyond just standing up. You've got to like counterbalance her and everything. Um, and yeah, I realized, okay, this is how I'm gonna finish Hardrock, is just doing this strength training with the family. And we did that a number of times, getting ready. And so like, if you look at my Strava, so it's really funny. My pacer, Callie Yuhan at Hardrock, she asked me, yeah, I noticed your Strava, like you look fit right now, but like, are you hiding mileage on your Strava? Are you like secretly like doing other training and like hiding it from people? Like, is that a thing you do? I was like, no, I do not care that much about hiding training from people. There was no secret training on my Strava. That is what it is. And she's like, oh, okay. And because it was like 30, 40 miles a week. And she was just like, okay, well, you're doing good. I was like in like the top 15 or whatever. It's like, you're doing good. And I was like, yeah. That was just like the thing, is like all I could do was just hope that all that strength training from hiking with the kids was going to work out. And I just kind of accepted that that was the best opportunity I had, and I was going to make the best use of that opportunity. And worked out great for Hard Rock. There's a lot of hiking at Hard Rock.
Right.
Most of the race, I didn't have too much like debilitating pain or stomach issues. Um, Cascade Crest, a little bit different. I was recovering from Hard Rock, trying to get all buttoned up again, and then Cascade Crest is runnable for the first 50 miles. Very, very, very runnable. Really, like the first 70 miles, a lot of runnable terrain. And my stomach wasn't used to that, and I had a hard time getting my nutrition on point, but I eventually did. Thanks to seeing you at Olali
Oh,
Meadows.
Ollie.
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah.
credit for. I'll take all the credit.
It was
You-
Gus. It was Gus.
Huge.
I guess one of the other things I sort of want to, we have a couple great questions there in the chat. If you have questions for Dom, please drop into the chat and let us know. I did have a couple things I wanted to mention. You're a very competitive guy. Like as long as I've known you, you've always been top tier competitor, podium finisher. You have trophies at home that prove that, from some of the bigger and tougher races. And in this case, I'm assuming you probably had to come to grips with like, training's not going to be where it's going to be. I'm assuming fitness will be there. The years of fitness that you have will be there to support you. Was there a moment that you sort of had to go, I am choosing not to be competitive in these races? Was that a conscious decision, or was it like a coming to grips, or how did you sort of mentally tackle that? Or really was it just maybe next year, like this year I'm focused on getting them done? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. It's tough because I think we do live in a lot of like a podcast world, if you will, where it's like David Goggins said this, Anton Kaprichka said this, and you have this like intensity that we put out all the time, and say, if you don't have that intensity, who are you? And I think one of the things I really did learn during the pandemic is, there's a lot of heroes that just did everyday blue collar jobs, and everyday blue collar things. And we'll say, oh, we love our nurses. Oh, we love our military. We love our first responders, but we don't really realize it until we're in the thick of it. Doing that, like that manual labor ourselves. And that, yeah, it's really awesome for professional athletes to go out there and have everything dialed in and be perfect. But most of the world isn't a professional athlete. Most of the world is, moms and dads, brothers and sisters, just trying to put food on the table and do what they need to do to survive, and then run as a way to be happy. And it's definitely seasons of life. I really appreciated earlier in my life when I had more time to be ultra competitive and just push myself to the breaking point, in training and in racing. And for what it's worth, I think one thing I really enjoyed about Cascade Crest this year was that the wave starts with the out and back. So there's senior runners starting at 5 a.m. There was mid packers starting at 7 a.m. and then the front packers starting at 9 a.m. And then we were running, 56-mile out and back. So I got to see everyone on the course. And um, by the time 2 hours had passed and I caught up to some of those 7 a.m. Starters, there wasn't like a big difference, like where I could just blow past them, like it was the start of a race. It was kind of
Right.
like we were all tired, we're all kind of running, similar pace, and you realize that, you know, that that is so much more of ultra running than all the media. Like, not 99% of the media goes to like the elite runners and the winners, but like 99% of ultra running is like the regular people just grinding it out. And I think, to answer your question, making the mental switch was like, yeah, like this is reality. And, maybe in a few years things will settle down a little bit. Maybe it'll be next year, maybe it'll be, 10 years from now. I don't know. But it'll settle down. I'll have more like time to dedicate to training. But like choosing not to do a race because I can't be 100% competitive in it is like disrespectful and just not not what I'm about. So I kind of took it as like fuel for, everything. And to be perfectly honest, like I had, a little bit of, natural depression during COVID, just without being around the running community as much as I wanted to, and having races, and just finishing, even if it wasn't, my best finish yet, or my best time yet. um, it was so invigorating and so worthwhile that, um, I don't know, I was like, hindsight being 2020 is like, even having the worry about whether I was going to be as competitive as I could be, like that worry is just like, you know, worthless. Just being
I'm
out there and competing, for myself and doing the best I could was infinitely valuable.
I'm man, I class act. Like I love that answer and sort of what you were speaking to. It's a testament to your caliber as a human and as just someone, an enjoyer of the sport of running, and kind of how you mentioned you got to see everyone on the course and how that kind of puts into perspective how 99% of people who are running these races are the normal people, not necessarily the front of the pack. And again, I really appreciate you saying that, and I'm just so happy that you got to enjoy these two races this year. It was, for us, it was really cool to see you out there on Cascade Crest course, and I can only imagine how cool it would have been to see on Hardrock as well. But I do want to talk about those races and your experiences at the races, but of course we have live questions. Kim, what do we got?
Yeah, just a quick comment here first. We do have a couple nurses. We have an OR nurse in the chat right now. We have teachers in the chat right now. Jean in the chat says, here's to all the grinders in the chat. There's a lot of folks just really appreciative of what you just talked through, Dom, there as well. Question from Michael. Michael says, with all that on your plate, I imagine you run into situations where you have to decide between productivity and sleep and recovery. What was your guide to make it through?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of anxiety during the pandemic for various reasons, and I mean, pregnant mom, what was going to happen to her. Lots of other things. Just, I actually had lost a coworker to COVID. He was in his 20s and had a newborn that he didn't get to meet.
Mm.
So I had a lot of anxiety, and eventually one of the things that hit me was, spend time being busy, spend time being productive as you can, and let your body sleep when it needs to sleep. And so, yeah, if I just working from home, one of the luxuries I had, for a period of months was, if I just felt like I had to, take like a 20-minute nap, I just did it. I think we probably all need to sleep more. I don't think there's anyone other than, like, single professional athletes that get enough sleep. But yeah, we all need to sleep more, and just let sleep come to me. And realize that there's always another day waiting for you. And definitely, yeah, try to cut down on the junk scrolling. The doom scrolling was a good lesson learned as
Oh
it
my
came out of the
God.
pandemic.
The number of conversations we'd have each week of like, let's put our phone down
Yeah.
between these hours and then try to expand those hours. So it just turned into all day, just putting the phone down all day. It was so hard not to, right? You're just doing this. Even when you're laying in bed, you're like, I should be sleeping. Blah, blah. I'm curious with Hardrock. So it's not your first time running Hardrock. You've been there before. You and Katie both experienced the family and the gathering and everything in Silverton. How did it feel this year? How did it feel this year returning? Was that sort of your first big event since the
Yeah.
pandemic, like bringing together trail runners?
I did run Bishop High Sierra 50 mile, but that was like 8.5 hours and relatively nice and reasonable. But then Hard Rock was like, we went there for 2.5 weeks before, camped out with a newborn and a toddler in a tent in middle of the mountains, and it was awesome. I mean, we didn't have cell service for days at a time, and just felt just so cathartic. And like the thing you have to understand about Hard Rock is that it's a naturally really difficult course, and a naturally the communal response to getting people through that course is like equal. So um, I just wish, like when you see those beautiful drone shots of the San Juans, you could understand that, that vertical relief, for every foot of vertical relief, there is a volunteer or a crew person or a family member, busting their butt to help their runner do it. So,
Mm.
um, that was just like the brightest light at the end of the tunnel for COVID for us was going out there and seeing all our friends and having our vaccines and just being able to hug someone again was amazing.
Yeah. And with that course particular, you are running Hard Rock with the knowledge that you're doing Cascade in a couple of weeks. Did you try not to get yourself buried too deep and overreach on Hard Rock? Like, was there a strategy in place, like keep me paced a certain way, or how did you go into Hard Rock and complete Hard Rock with Cascade on the horizon?
Yeah, so I had a experience in 2018 when my first child Lindy was born. She was 10 days old, and I tried to run Angeles Crest again. I was like, I've been like really successful at Angeles Crest. My first time I was seventh, and then after that I had 2 wins and 5 podiums, and I was like, never DNF. Just felt like really comfortable and enjoyed the course a lot. And I thought, yeah, it'd be no problem. And um, Lindy's out there on the course. My mother-in-law Jones holding her, and every time I come to an aid station, I'd smell her, and I'd want to be with her because of her pheromones. Your baby bonding pheromones. Ended up DNFing at mile 60 because I just couldn't stop thinking about how bad I wanted to stop and be with her. And a few weeks later, went and ran Pine to Palm, and I was had like an anxiety attack the night before. I like told Kate, like, I don't know if I'm an ultra runner. Like, all I want to do is be with my kid. I don't want to run. I just want to be with her. And she said, well, take it one aid station at a time. Don't worry about winning or being, super competitive. Just worry about, one aid station at a time, make your progress. And so I like just put it out there like, okay, cut off is 30 hours. I have to run every 25 miles. I need, do in 7.5 hours. And so I just went along the course, going through each aid station saying, okay, I'm at mile 20 and 3 hours and 10 minutes. So that means I've got 2 hours cushion. And I went like just adding to the cushion. And even at like mile 90, when I had like 8 hours of cushion, I still was like, okay, I got 8 hours to walk in 10 miles. I just kept telling myself that. I ended up, getting on the podium and breaking 20. I think that experience helped me to like start pulling back on the expectations of myself. And so
Mhm.
at Hard Rock and at between Hard Rock and Cascade Crest, I realized I really need to like just expect the worst, and then just use this like when things are going well enough, just tell myself I still have a parachute there of like I've got 18 hours to finish Hard Rock in the last 20 miles. I could go 1 mile an hour, and just have that, and that it let my mind, I think, perform a little bit more pragmatic tasking of like eating and drinking and pacing myself and not like beating myself up so much. And so that was like a big benefit. And I actually didn't think about Cascade Crest during Hard Rock because I was just like, oh man, that's years and years away. When you're like, living life in a day at Hard Rock, you're like, oh, that's like 5 lifetimes away or
Yeah,
whatever.
that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to be dwelling too much on something that's going to happen weeks later when you're literally in the midst of just trying to survive something in real time. That makes sense.
Oh yeah. And actually, we had a vacation to a friend's wedding in Mexico the week or 2 weeks after, and we didn't even like talk about Cascade Crest once. We were just like focusing on recovering and eating all the food and drinking all the drinks, and then finally when we did start talking more about it. We visited Plain, Washington, which is near the Cascade Crest course, kind of like to the northeast. We visited, we got inspired. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get on Priceline hotels and start getting it all booked out, and just kind of like slowly let myself get inspired, and then just ended up doing the same thing of like, okay, the cutoff is 7 p.m. on Sunday. This is how many hours I have to complete it, and just work backwards from there. And yeah, it's just I don't know. In ultra running, like I love numbers and stats and pacing like myself to like do something awesome and amazing. I love that. But I also have like times where I just have to turn that off
Mm.
and realize that if I go into that trap, that's a trap to a DNF. And the day after a DNF, you just feel like all this regret for like being too wrapped up in your ego and too wrapped up in your sense of self. Um, when the reality is like, you're gonna have that pizza and beer after the race one way or another. It's gonna taste a lot better if you got a buckle. Doesn't matter what color it is. If you have a buckle, it's gonna taste a lot better. So yeah.
I really respect that, man. I really respect sort of like the division, making the races their own thing, their own experiences. So you're not looking at it as like a group of experiences, but rather real time, in the moment, step by step. There are some questions actually here in the live chat that I think will make a great sort of transition from one race to the other. Kim, I'll let you take it.
I just got distracted by.
So for those who aren't, well, everyone can't see
Nobody
this.
can
No one
see
can
this.
see this. But Dom has us on our chat where we're all videoed together.
I've disappeared.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you are. I think it's called a together mode or something. So Dom has the three of us positioned on, what are these, stairs? What is this?
I don't know what happened. Yeah, oh, there it is. Together mode. Cool.
Yeah, it's together mode. Dom
Hey.
has us like all
We're all
on the
just, like,
same
sitting on a
screen.
stair.
I'll see if I can rig it up to show you during the live show here while Kim asks this question.
Yeah, you kind of just answered this already. So sorry. I think I'm still lacking sleep from the weekend.
We
as
all
well.
are. Yeah, we all are.
Ian in the chat room did ask, I'd be interested to know about what Dom did in between races. Was it just recovery? Was there anything like yoga or biking? Anything else special between races?
Yeah, did a little bit of biking, did some hiking, just walking. The best way to recover is pretty individual. I mean, we have like a hot tub here, and I just would soak in the hot tub and go for walks and play with my kids. Kids are awesome cross training, so you can either buy a gym or have kids. Pretty much similar. Kids are probably a little more expensive, but you know, works out. But yeah, did a little bit of biking. I think the cool thing about like as you get older is that you have all these good vibes after a race, and when you're young, you're kind of like, oh man, I want to go run up that mountain because I feel so all these good like adrenaline running through me, and like but my mind's just soaked with like ego and stuff. But then as you get older, you're like, yeah, I don't have to do that. I can just sit here and be happy. That's okay. And you realize, you're like body just eating and drinking and resting and getting good rest. It's like after your training and your race, just resting is so good for you.
I do want to start getting into Cascade Crest here. Have you run in the Pacific Northwest first and foremost? Is this what drew you to this course?
And do you know how excited we were to hear that you were running?
Oh man. Yeah, I had, let's see, I'd ran Gorge Waterfalls, which is a bit of a
Right.
different course. But I'd ran that a few times, really enjoyed it. I'd not been on the Cascade Crest course before. But kind of just, if I could describe it in a way for, I guess, SoCal people, right? It's like you take the lower altitude, like good running in the front country, like in Pasadena, but then you have a lot more pine trees. You have a lot, like, just more like incredible views, and it's kind of like a little bit of a, like, at least like the last 30, definitely for sure, is like a mini Hard Rock, if you will, without all the altitude. And I was just like blown away by like what a luxury, that's like 40 minutes outside of Seattle. And we had like a beautiful day, no rain, just perfect temperatures and stuff. I was like, yeah, I totally 100% respect and get this community up here, that they why they love it so much and why it's so special. And um was really impressed by just the community in general, of like how easygoing and nice and welcoming and friendly. Like, from the second I landed in Seattle, people were just nice to me. They're like, I, uh, I had like just no bad experiences whatsoever. And
We told them you were coming. We made the call. We just called.
Everyone.
Yeah. We're just like, hey, Dom's coming. Be nice.
We want them to come back.
Actually, it was like, Katie's coming. Be nice. Dom's coming. I guess also be nice.
But man, I like just totally blown away by the quality. I told you at Stampede Pass, I was like, this feels like some type of like astroturf. It's like bouncy dirt, like the way that like the fir needles are like arranged with, like, it just felt so like delightfully kind and sweet. And like that was that phrase, when your foot strikes, it's kissing the earth. And I was like, the earth is kissing my feet. It's just so delightful on the PCT through there.
Yeah,
it's
you
nice and buttery.
super buttery, single track, and you had the luxury of being able to do the out and back. So there's normally a big climb at the front of the race.
The icky climb at the
You
start.
missed the icky climb. I mean, it's a beautiful climb. It has some incredible views, but you got to enjoy the PCT section twice, out and back, and it's such a cool section of the course that is so unique to it, because you said it's runnable, and we had some people in the chat that are like, Dom's a runnable. It's definitely not my runnable. It's challenging. It certainly is challenging. Yeah, but after Hardrock, like, your legs can move versus, probably pulls and just trying to grind up everything. It is a beautiful front half of the course. It's that back half that I think gets a little spicy. And so what I remember sitting down or watching you sit down when you came into Olali, I think you were in a place where you were talking about protein. Like, you went on a conversation, you probably remember it, but you were like, man, protein. In 2012, I didn't do protein. And then in this race, I did do protein, and I need protein. You were kind of in your own world. I think you must have been thinking about protein.
I was bonking, yeah.
But it was a moment where you said, I'm actually scared of the trail from hell right now. Like, you said it. I don't think you meant it. Maybe just your brain was telling you, like, be scared of trail from hell. How was the trail from hell for you? It's a section right after mile 72, I think. It's like a 6-mile section. How was that this year for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so basically what's happened when I was babbling about protein was that I'd had this experience at Hardrock in 2012, like mile 90. I had just eaten like a quarter of a pumpkin pie and a cup of coffee, and I was like charging towards the finish, and my whole body just like collapsed. Like, I couldn't, like, I felt like super tingly in my hands, and like I was like having like, like super low blood sugar. I was like, this is crazy. How is this possible? Like, I just ate a quarter of a pumpkin pie. That's like, I don't know, 500 calories or something. And I ended up taking a protein bar. I talked to my pacer Jamil about it. I was like, I think maybe I don't have enough protein. And what protein does for me is like I get to a point where my stomach enzymes aren't working very well, and they help to like convert those whatever's in my stomach to actually absorb it. So I don't just have that runaway stomach. And I was getting that runaway stomach at like mile 40, and I was having a lot of trouble, like even just standing up. And I was eating, gels and other stuff, but I just wasn't getting enough protein in. So I was like nervous about like my ability to like get it back together and balance my running effort and my running pace and my nutrition. And eventually ended up just getting really concerned about it and taking my nutrition a lot more seriously after that. I had that pierogi at Olali, and yeah, what I was afraid of was bonking on the trail from hell and knowing that there were, some cliff sections in there. I could fall, 50 or 100 feet down the embankments into the lake would be pretty ugly. So I took it a lot more seriously. I ate a ton at mile 70 at Lake Catchis, and then ended up having a really good section on Lake Trail from Hell. I guess you told me it's Trail from Heck now, and I agree with you. I guess if you have enough food in your stomach, it's just a trail. It's a little bit rough, not a big deal, as long as you're not hangry. And then I mean, this is kind of gross, but I had like a little baggie of lunch meat and tortillas that I just nibbled on for the rest of the race and just surged and pushed through um, to the finish. And that was like the difference maker, just taking the nutrition a lot more seriously and giving myself time to process it. Because I think that all that buttery single track in the first half distracts you from what you're eating and drinking. You're just running well and making good time and watching, the seconds and miles tick by on your watch, and you feel great. And then, yeah, you got to pay for it
I
eventually.
think that's what makes that course so tricky is that the front half is, I mean, I think we both say runnable, and I think we both know the definition of that. It's not like you're sprinting 6-minute miles the whole time. It's that your legs are able to move pretty well. Like the climbs are short, maybe punchy, but you're not grinding out a 6-mile grind.
And it's not super like techie.
Not
up
super
front.
techy. Yeah, there's maybe some technical sections, but not anything to really worry about. And I think it sets you up for a potentially exhausting second half, and that's sort of my experience with it. Was I had this great sort of first half, and I had a fucking terrible second half. And we saw many runners have that this year.
And that's kind of like we usually end up hanging out at a lolly because usually people are like they have like the nice PCT and everything's going great, and then there's like a little bit before a lolly and everybody comes in wrecked.
Yeah, I think every year, Kim and I go to Olali, which is this aid station, mile 51. It's a great aid station. They have pierogies. Dom had
Run
a pierogi.
by our good friend Gretchen.
And it's a great place to post up because you do get the runners at mile 50, usually in a rough spot. The sun's set. They're about ready to get into some of the tougher stuff. They know that. There's ropes up ahead, all sorts of things. So we were so glad to see you, Dom, because you rolled in. You might have been bonking, but you were still like super strong, ready to go. I almost mentioned this, like, hey, you're almost to Hyack, which is big aid station, mile 55-ish. You can pick up your pacer. Did you have pacers?
No.
Full solo effort.
Yeah, it was a big risk. But that was another big perk of running with the 7 a.m. crowd is they were just like good freaking people. And sometimes I get into this no man's land area of races where I'm like I might have fallen off of the lead pack, but then there's just no one for hours behind me. And instead I was surrounded by people, and it was like really encouraging to kind of yo-yo with people and talk and chat. And it was, I mean, I wish I knew everyone's name that I ran with, because I'd thank them all because they made a difference for me. Like just giving me encouragement, telling me stories and whatnot. And I had some podcasts I listened to, but it's always better just to talk to other people. And I ran with a guy who was a carpenter, ran with a guy who was a nurse. It was like just all this like cross section of people, and it helped to like separate from the race being so freaking hard.
We are so excited that you got to experience some Pacific Northwest Trail community, weather, like all the Pacific Northwest is known for. And you did an incredible job out there, Dom, both at Hardrock and at Cascade Crest. It was so cool to see you here in our neck of the woods and see your whole family too. That was the other thing that I think we can sort of wrap up the show with is you had your family there. You had your newborn, Lindy, your toddler, Katie, your wife. They were all out there supporting. Big shout out to Katie, by the way, who not only child wrangling, but also full AIDS, like, baby on the front.
Huge
toddler,
backpack on the back.
Backpack, but just like, here's your bottles, here's your calories, here's doing this, here, take your lollipop, blah, blah, blah. Total shout out to Katie. What was it like for you rolling into aid stations that they had the ability to get to and see your family there? How important was it to have them there? And did you have those feelings of like, I just want to be with my baby, like how was the mindset, the mental enhanced by their presence?
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about whether it was the best idea for them to come and just all pragmatism, because we had the luxury of having the grandparents at Hardrock, but we didn't have them out for this. And uh, she along the way, you know, like there was definitely a lot of work to get the family packed and traveling up there, and like it was a lot of work. But along the way, she kind of like nudged me a little bit, saying, you know, don't want this to all be for naught. I
Mm,
want you to finish. Whatever time it takes you to finish, we will be there at the finish. I want it to happen. And I think they are like really good at just being themselves, being like reflections of me in a lot of ways. Like Lindy's super spunky, and Goldie, you know, she's uh, about to turn 6 months, but she's already got a lot of like just you know, character, and big smiles that she puts out. And um, it's kind of like I can't put a bad example in front of them. I gotta grind it out for them. And fun story: there's a freaking 5-year-old hiking the PCT right now, which I met at mile like 35, where I was having a little bit of a rough patch after Stampede, and I was like just realizing like the power of family is that you're not limited by what you do in your life and what your social media is or whatever. You're unlimited because you're giving all of your best to them, and giving them, you know, you're leaving those fingerprints on them, and they're creating their own ripples in the rest of the world. And so, you know, knowing like people would like tell me at aid station stuff, oh, I love your daughter, oh, she's so cute, oh, she's so, and I just was realizing like, yeah, she's cute because like I freaking work hard to make her cute, you know, and like work hard to like make her funny and spunky and stuff. And just like, yeah, realizing that like the race is so much more than just running 100 miles. It's sharing it with them, it's experiencing it with them, it's the training with them. And you know, the yeah, I can't say that I'll always have them at every race, but I really, really do love having them at races. They're incredibly supportive and special, and even when they're having their meltdowns, Katie included, those meltdowns are short, and the gold that comes beyond that, when you get to experience a finish with them, or experience them giving you a hug at your low point, it's just so empowering and special that I don't know. I'm just a huge ball of sap right now, but I love them.
it was a joy to see them out there again. Man, Lindy super cute, Goldie super cute. It's just awesome. Katie super cute, obviously very 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 cute. And we saw that 5-year-old through hiker. It was her and her family, her parents, and it was like one of the coolest things. They came hiking through, and the dad was leading the charge, and sort of like, that's my 5-year-old back there, youngest PCT through hiker, we're almost done. I was like, what? And she comes bounding through with a little blue ring pop, and her mouth was just all blue, but she was having the time of her life. I was like, this is amazing that they'd come all that way. So that was a cool moment. I can imagine for you too, as a father, seeing that cool family adventure. Dom, you're an amazing athlete. You're an amazing human, and it's always a joy to catch up. And I'm so stoked. You did incredibly well at Hardrock, placed 11th place. I don't think the Cascade Crest results are up yet. Do you know what your finish time was?
Yeah, I was like 24:55, and I think I was like 14th or 15th. It's
Amazing.
a little confusing. Yeah.
Amazing, Dom. You had a hell of a summer, man, and we're super excited to continue to follow along. I do want to give you a chance to, before we move into the after show here, let people know where they can follow you online, where they can follow up with future adventures and see pictures of the family and stuff like that. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, mostly on Instagram, DOM_Grossman. And you'll probably see a lot of links to Katie and Lindy and Goldie on there. Lindy and Goldie have their own pages, so I try not to have my running life just be all pictures of my kids. So they have, if you need even more kid content, there's Lindy Mae Grossman and Goldie Rose Grossman as well. but no promises. They're freaking cute. So sometimes they stumble their way in.
Our guest tonight was Dominic Grossman. It's always awesome to catch up with him. He had one hell of a back-to-back Hardrock 100. A couple weeks later, Cascade Crest 100. Did really, really well at both. And it was just great to share some stories with Dom tonight. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We are going to move into our after show. We have some residual questions for Dom. If you have some residual questions for Dom, you can join us in that after show by heading over to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. But of course, before we do, we'd like to recognize members of the community that go above and beyond. We call it our GR crew member of the week. Kim, who is this week's GR crew member?
This week's GR crew member of the week are actually two people.
Yes.
So we have, first up, we have Shinya Nakata and Angela Kuzier, who both ran and finished Cascade Crest. I almost said Angela's Crest.
Angela Crest 100.
Angela's Crest. Cascade Crest 100 this past weekend. It was great to see them both crush it. I also want to give a special shout out as well to crew members Megan and Darren, who also attempted Cascade Crest this weekend as well.
And as I mentioned, huge accomplishments by so many crew members this weekend. And I was following Angela Kuzier, a crew member with a camera at Cascade Crest. And just to give you an idea of how amazing the experience was, 33 hours, 59 minutes, and 32 seconds, Angela crossed the finish line of Cascade Crest, got her buckle. Just
a hair over 20 seconds to spare.
Just a hair over 20 seconds to spare. And she finished the last 4 some miles from Silver Creek aid station to the finish faster than I think I've ever seen anyone finish those last few miles. It was an amazing thing to witness. I can't wait to put this film piece together. We will have Angela join us on the show when we do drop that movie. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into tonight's Ginger Runner Live, episode number 368. We are honored to have you tonight, and we are going to move into our after show with Dom. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. I was going to say, am I forgetting anything? And I was. 2 things. GRGR, Ginger Runner Global Run, starts next Monday. There's still time to register. If you'd like to do so, all you got to do is go to rungrgr.com. There's a couple extra small t-shirts available, but you can also digitally register. So you get like a digital download, and it's a cheaper option, and you get to be immediately registered for the event that starts next Monday and goes for 7 days. Unique surprise challenges each day. And then Tiger Claw, which is our in-person event. It's 25 miles with 8,000 feet of vert. We have some spots open for our October 2nd running of that. And it's going to be super fun. We have some pretty fun announcements to make this week around that. So you won't want to miss if you are in the region or are traveling here. I think that is it.
I think that's it, yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to tonight's Ginger Runner Live. We'll see you in the after show, or we'll see you next week. Get out there, train hard, race harder, party hardest.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.
Ginger Runner.